What is Flying Aces? Flying Aces is a steel roller coaster located at Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi, UAE. The ride opened to guests as the second large-scale thrill coaster to be built at the Ferrari-themed theme park and the tallest complete circuit roller coaster in the United Arab Emirates. Perhaps the most interesting part of Flying Aces is its theme, which takes guests back to the origin of the well-known Ferrari logo. Before we go down the rabbit hole that is the origin of the prancing horse, why was this roller coaster built in the first place? Flying Aces came to be as part of the redevelopment of Ferrari World to enhance its offering, attract more guests back to the park, and compete against other parks that were being built in the area at that time. Firstly, as theme parks go, Ferrari World is relatively new. It opened to guests in November of 2010 with a relatively small collection of rides. The main debut attraction was Formula Rossa, the world's fastest roller coaster, which quickly placed Ferrari World on the theme park map. However, to keep guests coming back, the park needed to expand. In 2013, Ferrari World set out a plan to develop the park's offering and build world-class attractions. The creative director at the time was given the task of attracting 40% more guests to the park. To do this, he believed that Ferrari World needed more story-driven attractions and themed environments, two things found in excess at Universal and Disney theme parks. The designers wanted to ensure Ferrari World didn't become a tame museum or edutainment facility, and therefore needed exciting attractions that cleverly utilized the Ferrari brand. One of the park's enhancements came in the form of an interactive experience which was designed to transport guests to Italy. Instead of being car-themed, the area pulls from the history, influences, and origins of the Ferrari brand itself, which proved to be successful. The expansion, however, needed more than just an interactive experience. When the plan was developed in 2013, several new theme parks were poised to open across Dubai over the next few years. This included MotionGate, Bollywood, and Legoland as part of the Dubai Parks and Resorts development, as well as IMG Worlds of Adventure. Several of these parks were planning to boast multiple white-knuckle thrill coasters upon their debut. So, in order to remain the park for thrill seekers in the UAE, Ferrari World needed to construct another intense roller coaster. Their idea? Flying Aces. Continuing with the idea of theming rides to something abstractly related to the Ferrari brand, Flying Aces was created to tell the origin story of the well-known Ferrari logo. Judging from the name and design of the ride, that story involves planes. At the beginning of the 1900s, the idea of aviation began to evolve rapidly. Aircrafts began to be used for reconnaissance during wars in the early 1910s, and by 1915, partway through World War I, they were being used to contribute to the fight. This ushered in a whole new type of combat, which saw planes chase each other across the sky. Pilots quickly began to use new maneuvers to outperform their enemies. German pilot Max Immelmann used his plane to perform what was dubbed an Immelmann turn, a maneuver which saw the pilot pass the enemy before climbing vertically, turning, and diving into a position behind the enemy plane. In fact, the maneuver was translated into roller coasters in 1996 by Bolliger and Mabillard with the debut of Montu. Pilots who were able to perform well in aerial combat and were credited with shooting down 5 or more enemy planes were given the title Flying Aces. These Flying Aces were viewed as heroes to their countries. Prior to the war, an Italian man called Francesco Baracca became an officer in the Royal Piedmont Cavalry, one of the most prestigious units in the Italian army, which bore the emblem of Cavallino Rampante, the prancing horse. Baracca would go on to adopt a slightly modified version of this emblem as his own. When Italy entered World War I, Francesco was sent to France for pilot training. Then, in 1917, he became the first Italian aviator to defeat an enemy in aerial combat and went on to win many more victories. By December of 1917, he had earned over 30 combat victories, gaining the title Ace of Aces. It was in the same year that Francesco painted the emblem of the prancing horse onto the fuselage of his plane, making it a defining mark of his legacy. Unfortunately, Francesco Baracca would suffer defeat in June of 1918, passing away as a result of the crash. Overall, he had 43 victories during his service in the war and became a hero in Italy. Meanwhile, Enzo Ferrari was creating a legacy of his own. After viewing his first motor race in 1908, he dreamt of being a race car driver. Though these dreams were delayed due to World War I, which saw him lose both his father and brother Dino, who served in the same squadron of the Italian Air Force as Francesco Baracca. Fortunately for Enzo, he found success during the 1920s racing for Alfa Romeo. In 1923, following Ferrari's victory in the first Savio automobile circuit, he met the parents of the late Francesco Baracca, who were a customer of Alfa Romeo. Upon meeting them, he was gifted the emblem of the prancing horse used by Francesco, and they said that if he put it on his cars, it would bring him good luck. Enzo did just that in 1929 with the formation of Scuderia Ferrari, the well-known automotive company which depicts the prancing horse as its logo. Flying Aces was designed to loosely tell this story and allow riders to step into the shoes of Francesco Baracca. Guests begin by walking through the attraction's entrance themed to a World War I hangar. At this point, visitors are transported back in time. They find themselves in the barracks of the 91st Squadron. As guests navigate the queue, they see a range of supplies, vehicles, and even a crashed plane. To further immerse visitors, the park created a custom musical score which indicates the shift in time. At the entrance to the ride, the music is loud and clear. As riders find themselves in the queue, the same score is being played through small radios scattered throughout the themed area. Boxes of canvas and balsa wood can also be found lying around, reminding guests of the nature of the planes of that era. A large mural of a landscape can also be seen projected on the wall of the queue line, with planes occasionally flying across and performing maneuvers in the sky. In addition to creating heavily detailed set pieces, Ferrari World wanted to make guests feel as if they were really there. Various video elements have been placed behind windows, showing soldiers marching along and planes taking off into the skies. Audio of conversations can also be heard from various locations within the queue line. This audio-visual themed experience was created by Holoviz, a company specializing in immersive and mixed reality solutions. Once at the end of the line, visitors are met with a pre-ride show. Here, the story turns to them. Upon being given the attraction's safety briefing, guests are given their mission. They must prepare to take flight with the 91st Squadron. Riders then approach a set of doors which open into the main hangar where the train sits waiting. The entire design of Flying Aces has been crafted to give guests the sensations a pilot would have experienced at the time. The ride's train has been designed to look like a biplane, with the front car featuring a large propeller. Ferrari World chose roller coaster manufacturer Intamin to produce the ride due to their success with Formula Rossa, another Intamin attraction. Flying Aces itself makes use of the company's wing train design. Here, visitors seated at the edge of each row of the train are suspended over the sides of the track, further adding to the flying sensation. Each vehicle is made up of 7 cars, seating guests in single rows of 4. This leads to a total of 28 riders per train. Once ready to embark on their mission, visitors dispatch from the station building and immediately begin to climb into the skies. Flying Aces features the world's steepest cable lift hill at 51 degrees, which allows the trains to climb a staggering 63 meters, 207 feet high in just over 10 seconds. Guests are given little time to savor the views as they plunge down into the attraction's first drop. Here, they quickly begin to bank right. As they do so, the trains reach their top speed of 120 km per hour, 75 miles per hour. At this point, riders enter the attraction's signature element, its 52-meter, 171-foot tall non-inverting loop, the tallest loop-type element on any roller coaster around the world. Once completed, guests then climb into an overbank turn to the right. After diving back towards the ground and completing an airtime hill, they climb an upward right-hand turn. The trains plummet back towards the ground, traverse a second airtime hill, and dive to the left. A long sweeping turn later sees visitors navigate an S-hill followed by an overbank turn to the left. The trains then climb a left-hand upward turn, flip to the right, and complete a right-hand turn. Guests enter another overbank turn, which leads them into the roller coaster's single inversion, a heartline roll. The ride comes to an end with a large sweeping turn to the right, then the left, leading visitors into the final brake run. During their experience, guests navigate 1,500 meters, 4,921 feet of track in approximately 64 seconds of actual ride time measured from the first drop to the final brake run. In some senses, Flying Aces is unlike most thrill coasters. many parks struggle to theme or create a storyline for their larger scale rides. Ferrari World managed to debut a high-intensity attraction that told a story, the story of the embodiment of the Ferrari brand. As a result, Flying Aces offers more than a traditional thrill coaster can, while still packing the same punch. It's known to provide a fast-paced, intense ride, which is only exaggerated by the desert-like heat of Abu Dhabi. Despite all this, Flying Aces is often overshadowed by Formula Rossa, which remains the fastest roller coaster ever built and the flagship attraction of Ferrari World. Would you like to see other theme parks give their large-scale thrill coasters the same level of detail and theming found on Flying Aces? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time. If you enjoy our videos, why not follow us over on Twitter at CoasterBot. You can also find us on Instagram, again at CoasterBot, posting cool new photos of rides and roller coasters every few days.